3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hey, this is Mitch Ward with Red River Real Talk Podcast. This is episode 5, where we're talking about, most of the time we really don't know exactly what we're talking about. That's why Dalton waits to title it, which is fine because we're pre-recording this. But, this morning I woke up, got up early, went to our service department, and I started playing service advisor. I try to get into these spots, and for me to be able to coach or help teach what needs to be done, I need to be in there operating. And a lot of times if I hadn't been there in a while, I don't see what's happening. So I went to work in our service advisor spot at one of our stores in Cabot, a Ford store, which there's all kinds of technology now. You check in with an iPad, then it goes to a computer, and then you're still printing paper. I'm like, what's the point of the iPad if I'm printing paper? And so I go, I'm calling the people. It's called X Time. Shouldn't all this happen from the iPad? Well, it should, but it doesn't work like it's supposed to. Well, then why am I paying you? So that's on my agenda today. Why am I paying? Call and get a budget cut until you get it operating correctly. Kind of like I've got, Suddenlink. Well, I won't say it's Optimum. Can we share names? I got my internet service at home that's out at least 7 days out of the month. Why am I paying them for the full month? So every month I'm asking for a discount, and they do. They give me a discount because it never works. But same thing. And now we got this new digital software on our phone where if I'm loaning a car to somebody or if I'm doing pickup delivery, Ford wants you to do pickup and delivery right now. So if I'm doing pickup delivery, click the button. The customer can watch where I'm at, see me coming to them, know what time I'm going to be there, and watch their car drive back to the dealership. Awesome, right?
Absolutely. That's incredible.
If it works. So it's not working. So I told him, Ashley, I said, Ashley, send to them until we want a full refund until they get this working. I'm tired of, it's a full-time job trying to get technology to work. Anyways, that's my experience in the service department. So I see what our service advisors have to deal with. And then we tell them, hey, smile, be happy when the customer comes in, even though everything you have at your hands to use does not work properly. And then they just go back to using the old notepad. Hey, what's your name? Well, let me get you checked in. And by then you lose what time they were here. And anyhow, that being said, I talked to a lady that came in today. I checked her in. We changed her oil. Everything was perfect. She needed tires and brakes. I'm not going to guess her age, but she was probably been retired 10 or 15 years.
Okay. Maybe
20. And I said, hey, I went out there and quoted her. I hate it. It's $1,500. By the time you put tires and brakes on something anymore, it's $1,500. And a older retired lady that's probably single, probably on fixed income. I just went, I said, hey, if you can afford this, if you can't, you need to start budgeting it in because she needed tires. The tires were bad. The brakes were fixing to be bad. And she said, well, I got a thing that I pay for that I think will pay for that. Well, so immediately I'm thinking Car Shield. You see it on Fox News every single day, right? Or I'm like, oh gosh, well, this isn't going to pay for it. It's a mechanical breakdown package. And what I didn't want to tell her is I quit honoring Car Shield at my stores because they won't pay for half anything anyways that they promise you. And we have to sit on the phone with them for days and days to get approval, and the customers get mad at us, so we don't even honor it anymore. I didn't tell her that. I said, well, let's go to your car and look. She pulls out 3 different packages she owns. Not only does she own Car Shield, she owns another one called Evolution or something, and another. She was paying over $400 on these packages that she bought Car Shield because she had a older gentleman advertising her on TV that told her she needed it. So she picked up the phone, called, said, I'll buy it because she trusted him, because what do media do? They we talked about this last week, media manipulation. They put a old guy from a TV show that was an honest guy in front of a camera. And he may be an honest guy, but he didn't study what this is. He didn't study the percentage of what people pay for. And so he just, he takes his paycheck, says what they tell him to say. She buys the product. Fine. Somebody else calls her, tells her what she needs. She buys the product. Somebody else calls her, tells her what she needs. She buys the product. Every single one was doing the same thing. And she was paying over $400 a month for these products. I'm thinking, so I pick up my phone, fixing to text Tim Griffin, our Attorney General. I thought, man, he's got a lot on his mind. Let me dive in and do some more details. So now I'm with our Arkansas Auto Dealer Association. This is all from this morning. I've contacted them. We're going to try to get a commercial together to help go and say, look, and so I'm fixing to introduce you guys, but to say, look, here's what we want to do. If you need a service contract, if you're watching one of these commercials, go to your dealer who you plan on doing business with first and ask them if it's a good idea to buy this. Because that dealer will either say yes, no, or they may recommend something else. And choose another local dealer if you don't trust their opinion. Get 3 different opinions before these older people buy these products, right? So today, we just happen to be up here in Heber Springs, which if you're watching on video, you'll see we're in a different location. This is some old nostalgic places. We got the old Chrysler sign in the back, which wasn't at this store, it's from our old store. But Chad and Sean happened to come in today. They're with EasyCare.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, EasyCare service contracts, right? Go ahead and tell us who you are.
Well, first, I'm Chad Fritz. I'm with EasyCare. It's a APCO Holdings brand. So under us, we have EasyCare, GWC, and now we have NAC, National Auto Care. So thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Sean, with EasyCare, also been there for 3.5 years. So we're a full spectrum dealership development company, like Chad said. So
yeah.
we deal with a lot of service contracts and those ancillary products like this lady had as well. So.
Yeah. Okay, so it kind of worked out perfect. You guys showed up, and I thought, hey, let's get on and talk. And we don't do business together. We don't. They're hoping to do business with me. So
that's the plan.
Yeah, they're hoping to do business with the Red River Auto Group, but right now we don't do business together. So there's no ties. I don't have any experience with you. So if I do bash any service contract company, I've never have any experience with you guys. But in reality, insurance is insurance, and the people answering the phone and the adjusters are doing what?
If it's an EasyCare APCO Holdings brand contract.
Well, let's get off of EasyCare. Let's say in general, what is adjuster's job?
A lot of times it's to find a reason to say no.
That's right. You do have a roof damage claim. You have a water heater, but whatever the claim. They're there to protect the insurance company, not you. So Allstate says you're in good hands, right? Man, that's a bunch of junk. The only hands they're worried about is theirs. So, of course, they got to keep people with a reputation or they'll run everybody out. But ultimately, it's about the bottom dollar. I like doing business with service contract companies that I can pick up the phone, call, and say, hey, I know this may not make sense to your adjuster, but this customer's great. We've been a good client. Let's take care of this customer. And so that's what you don't get with these things you buy over on TV. You don't get that.
Of course. And I think that's what will separate, the dealership brands, if I can call them that. Mm-hmm. The companies, providers are inside dealerships. I know from an EasyCare standpoint, our job is to help. And a lot of people might think that's helping the dealer, which sometimes that's true. You have to protect, your partner. At the same time, our responsibility is to help the customer. And so is what we are doing helping the customer, or is it a hindrance? Don't be a hindrance. You want to be a helper. Mm-hmm. And that's how I choose to do business. And I do it that way because that's how I was taught from EasyCare to do business. Mm-hmm.
So that being said, there's a lot of things we'll talk about when we go talk about service contracts, really is kind of what I'm talking about today. But, the young lady, so she wasn't a young lady, the older lady, on fixed income that bought this product. So are any of those products, so EasyCare, you actually sell for another insurance company, a bigger insurance company, whatever you said it was?
So we have 3 products under APCO Holdings, so American Protection Company. And like I said, so yes, we are one of the entities under under APCO.
Does APCO, any of those that are advertised on TV, those happen to be APCO?
No. We're
APCO
not
backed or anything? Because it's backed by an insurance company.
A lot of times you won't see the advertised companies inside of a dealership.
Yeah.
And that's just the easiest way to explain that. Because a lot of our business is going to come from our dealers.
Yeah. And the point I'm going to make is, even if APCO, or our companies now sell CNA or ASC,
sure,
even if those were the ones on TV, the reason they use a third or fourth party, even like us, is we can be that direct contact with the customer. So we're the human face with the customer. If I'm buying something, I'm going to bring up Carvana. If I'm buying something online only, it sounds great. It was easiest buying experience I had, but who am I going to call? right? When they don't do what they're supposed to do, who am I going to call? I walk into any dealership, every day I'm at a dealership, they can walk right up to me and say, hey, look, I bought this from your guys. They told me this and it's not happening. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And if it makes sense, I'm going to take care of it. Man, you sit on hold. Hey, you're fifth in line. It'll be 27 minutes before we answer your phone call. That's what you get. So even if I was selling the same product in-house as you sell on TV, buy it in-house. Just it's the rapport that you get with people that they need to be aware of.
Well, and I think it goes into any kind of sales you're doing in this day and age. You want to have somebody on your side. So you buy something over the TV, you buy something over the phone. Who is that person that's going to help you in your time of need? You go into a dealership, you've got a plethora of people that are going to be by your side. And, in those cases, a lot of times they'll contact Sean and I from the dealership and say, hey, I'm not really sure what to do here. What do you guys think? And that's when we step in and we help out.
Yeah. And so my guys are instructed, if the product's bought in-house, and I tell my service advisors, if the customer comes to you and you think it needs to be covered, you just pay for it. I said, just get it done. I'll deal with it. If the insurance company or the service contract company doesn't pay for it, I'll deal with the service contract company. Just get it done but here's what happens. They buy one on TV or something. They come in, transmission's out. My service advisor's on the phone with them for 45 minutes. And then they ask them for more information. What are they trying to find? A reason not to pay it. And then you keep sending, and then they'll say, well, we're going to send out an adjuster. When will that adjuster be? I don't know. I've got to call the adjuster. I'll get back with you. Day later. Have you heard from the adjuster? Yeah, they're supposed to get back with me tonight. Day later, get an email. Adjuster will be out there in 36 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. By then, the customer's over a week without their car. But where I take the liability is if I sell it, and we think it should be paid, we're just going to fix it. And if the service contract don't do what we think we're going to do, we're going to move on and start selling a different service contract.
Well, of course. And I mean, even on my side, I've advised, my service departments, let's go ahead and get the work done. And in the meantime, I'm working on it. I know I'm going to get it approved. So let's just go ahead and get it done because that's
customer
what's best
first.
for the customer.
Yeah, customer first. Manufacturers need to get to learning that. Manufacturers have got, although they try to put so much demand on us, they've got so far behind customer first. They got programs called customer first, customer whatever. They're all called customer first, but they are not customer first. We've talked about that, I think, on a podcast. But
And so just if I can, just say something based off of what you had said a moment ago, a lot of times, and this is really helpful for the customers that are listening, just so you understand what the process is in approving a claim. I will speak on EasyCare's behalf on this one, not for everybody else. But when you go into a service department and you say, I've got a claim and I need you guys to look through it, the responsibility on our part is we need you to break it down and break it down to the cause. Because a lot of times what happens is customer will come in and say, yeah, I've got a transmission problem. Well, if we just went and said, okay, well, we're going to approve it, it's a transmission, we'll replace it, you're talking thousands of dollars. It can be as simple as just one particular part that needs to be fixed or replaced. And that's why breaking down to the cause is so important. And then we want pictures because we want to be able to show, the advisor that is on the claim side that's approving it. We need to be able to prove to him, hey, that's what the issue is right there. But so it's a process just like anything else. But a lot of the times, customers not able to see what's going on behind the scenes. And it is a lot of hard work, and it is, on the service department side because they have to break down a vehicle completely. And they have to get the approval to break it down so they can get paid back, to put it all back together. Then they have to find the cause, and then they have to be able to prove that cause. And I think the most important thing for everybody to realize is just like anything, you don't want to necessarily overpay and pay for unnecessary parts or labor. You want to pay for, what the real cause is, what that real part is, and the labor that's attached to that part. So it's not necessarily a situation where we're trying to, say no. But sometimes it can just be as much as saying, hey, can you do a little bit more diligence on this to really show us where that need is? And then we can fix it, replace it, and get you all paid and on your road.
That's true. And, and that's what I tell. I mean, I can understand that. I understand that from a liability point, service contract. You want to make sure they're doing the right thing. And I actually have an experience about that last week. A gentleman had a truck he bought from us about 30,000 miles ago. He had some issues. He took it into a local store, wasn't ours, and had some repairs done. And something had to take valve covers off and take the plugs out and replace some seals and put it back on, put it together, drives off. Well, over the next day or two, he starts smoke coming from his after he started it up. Probably leaked some oil down in it, whatever. Probably could have drove it another 2 weeks and it'd have quit because it probably had some oil left over, dropped down during the, or the guy may have boogered up a seal when he put the valve cover back on. So he calls them. They said, bring it back in. Brings it in. They tear it back down and said, hey, it needs an engine. Okay, so what's the service contract company going to do now? They're sending out an investigator, right? Absolutely. They sent out the investigator, and the investigator was wrong, but he also, I understand why they didn't want to pay for it. The investigator says, hey, somebody put the plug tubes in wrong, and there's goop all around the plug tubes where they sealed them off, and that shouldn't be like that. That ruined the motor. Well, at 200 miles, it wouldn't ruin the motor. You could have drove it 30,000 miles like that. It wouldn't have ruined the motor. It would have just dropped a little oil down there and burn off. So they declined the engine. Now, the engine should have been declined because I don't think the motor's bad. I think the guy probably just needed to redo his tubes, put his plugs back in. But again, that's why we buy a service contract, so the customer doesn't have to worry about if the tech's doing something wrong. Service contract company sees these every single day. They're going to hold the shop accountable. In this instance, by them holding the shop accountable, now the shop has the guy's truck tore down, and the guy's responsible. But here's what happened. He calls me. He bought the service contract from me. I really agree with the service contract, and I understand the young man's point of view, but he agrees. I'm not going to share the dealer's name. The dealer's name's responsible. I just called the dealer. I explained to him what's going on. I said, look, put it together. I'm at your mercy. I'm going to pay you whatever I owe. I'm going to pay it. But I took care of the customer. I still hadn't got the bill back yet. But if the dealer rips me off, that's on him. He's got to go to, bed at night. And if he thinks he's right, whatever. But I'm still going to pay it. But very few instances do I see that. Normally the service contract holds them accountable and it gets taken care of. In this case, the dealership just screwed up.
We're all human beings, right?
Yeah.
But
and that's what I told the service manager. I said, look, I deal with this every day, and I'm not knocking your tech. He works on cars every day. He just made a mistake, so he just needs to own up to it. But if you don't feel like that, that's fine,
But, at the same time, and not to put you up on a pedestal, but, we don't do business together. We've already mentioned that. But that is what separates you from a lot of other owners in this case, is that you're willing to go that extra mile. Because, again, not everybody's probably going to take and do that due diligence like you did and take care of the customer in the sense that you did. Mm. So, that's why, again, pretty special experience with Red River, and I bet that's a customer you're going to have for the rest of your life.
That's right. Well, and we've been blessed that we can do that. A lot of smaller dealers, that big, if it turns out a $5,000 claim, they just can't afford to do it. So they just got to say, I'm sorry, man, that's why you bought a service contract. That or I almost said their name. That dealership, the guy that owned it, I think, just passed away this week. The guy that was one of the big investors just passed away this week. I don't know. Yeah, Joe. Really? That's what I saw. I don't know. I've been trying to research it, but maybe he didn't. I don't know. Anyhow, that's a whole political. Anyhow, so that's what I'd said to the dealer. I can't even remember where we were. Just play it. So, but things happen. But we've been blessed. That's what I'm saying. We've been blessed to where we can take care of that customer. A lot of small stores can't afford that, and so that's also why you want to buy from a store that has, not has a big Taj Mahal. None of my stores are big Taj Mahals, but we're successful. They're successful because they take care of people.
Absolutely.
There's dealer reputation involved too. When there's an issue with a service contract, like you mentioned, CarShield, they're not affiliated with a dealer. They're an independent. Right. So they really don't care where the customer goes and gets the work done. Your customer comes in, any dealer, they're going to partner with the company. They have a relationship, they trust that company. Because when something goes wrong with that service contract, the customer, doesn't blame the service contract company. They blame the dealer. They think it's the dealer's fault and everything. So, to Chad's point, going to a dealer to get the service contract, they have a reputation they need to uphold. They're not going to be this third party. You said something earlier, like you don't honor a certain service contract. You're one of thousands that don't for that particular company because of they incentivize their employees to deny claims.
Right.
It's all about the bottom line. And the
customer gets mad at us.
Exactly. Yeah. And the inverse, you're trying to go out and like we do as well. We try to do right by the dealer.
Yeah.
If it's almost every service contract company is partnered with a dealer. If you feel strong that this should be covered, you're going to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Sean, hey, Chad, this is wrong. I really need to do something." And at the end of the day, your customer is our customer too, because we don't want us to get a bad name, but they equate their experience to your dealership. So if you get customers complaining about our product, that reflects on you, and you won't want to do business with us any longer. So most dealers, if they have a problem company like that, like you said, they're going to move on.
Yeah.
So 99.9% of the time, the dealer has a reputable company behind them, which most auto dealers do. So the customer can feel more confident that they're getting something that's not going to charge them 3 or 4 policies or coverage they don't need. This poor lady's paying, for 3 service contracts. And if you look at some of these models, they charge you $140, $150 a month. Well, if you own your car 6 or 7 years, they don't tell you when you can stop, or if you miss one payment, your contract is canceled. Now you're stuck. Versus you did at the point of sale with the car, you're protected. The dealership knows about it. You have a better way to serve your customer.
Right.
And to add on to that, and Sean, I mean, I'm going to ask you this because you know this better than anybody. How many times has it depends on the circumstance, but how many times have we sold a service contract and the lender only allowed so much to be spent on a service contract? So we sold the best service contract for the price, and then a customer has a breakdown, and unfortunately that breakdown doesn't cover, or the service contract doesn't cover that breakdown. A good company, and this is why Sean and I like working for EasyCare, love working for EasyCare. A lot of times we will step in ourselves and we will pay that ourselves because again, it's not just representing the brand. It's not just representing the dealership. It's taking care of the customer too. And so sometimes there's been times where we've had to step in and pay for something that may not have been covered. But again, that's what makes our relationship with our dealerships so good, is because of the fact that we are just as invested as they are into not only protecting their customer base, but providing the best customer service for their customer base, because it's also our customer base.
Yeah, it's a good plug. Good plug for EasyCare.
Well, actually, that actually happened with one of my stores. They're a Chrysler Dodge Jeep store in St. Louis. They don't sell our product. They were working on one of our customers' cars. Yeah. And we went to enroll them as a repair facility for us because we seen that they had a lot of claims there. So we thought, well, hey, let's get you on the list. I introduced myself. Literally 1 week after we signed them up, they had a car in their drive. They released the car. The customer was driving to Chicago. Gets halfway to Chicago, car breaks down. First thing he thinks of is it was just at the shop for a week. It's their fault. They broke it. Right. It was a totally unrelated failure, had nothing to do with it. So they towed the car into the closest dealer, said, "Hey, I was at this store in St. Louis. I have this EasyCare contract, blah, blah, blah." They're like, "Oh, well, no, this is a different failure." Well, he had a $500 deductible. Well, you just paid $500 to the store in St. Louis. Now he's just outside Chicago. They're saying, they call us. We're like, no, we're going to waive the deductible. Yeah. This dealer's like, it wasn't our failure. We fixed it, but this guy's blaming us. We want to do right by the customer just like you would do. So they paid the repair facility up near Chicago and said, just take care of the customer. They put him at a hotel. It was our service contract. We don't do business with that dealer. We pay that entire claim, paid for the travel expenses for the customer because it made that dealer look good. It was one of our contracts. So that's what Chad said. We want to step up. They're not our customer, but the consumer was our customer. Right. We didn't want them to have a bad taste of our product and the service manager. Yeah. We did right by him. So that's kind of our philosophy as a company is, like you said, we don't want to take advantage of the customer. We didn't have to pay this claim. It just made good sense to.
And there's a lot of good dealers out there. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of good dealers out there that'll do that. And just like you said, that dealer wanted to take care of them too. But unfortunately, like this lady probably didn't trust a car dealer. I don't know why they wouldn't trust a car dealer, which brings me to one of our sponsors, hashtag Farley at Ford, that, well, you know what? Why you give me that face? He's not a sponsor. I was kidding. Farley at Ford. Yeah, the CEO. You remember when he was bashing car dealers a year ago? But wanted to take
car dealers.
Yeah, let's get rid of the car dealers. Let's take them back to. I just wish they could see the communication we have with Ford on them fixing their warranty repair. They would never want to get rid of car dealers. But yeah, Ford does because it saves them a lot of money because they don't care.
They're only $2 billion in the month.
Yeah, hashtag fire Farley. That's what I'm trying to get going. So. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. He was out there and just bashing car dealers. Car dealers were selling for over MSRP. Well, we're selling for over MSRP because you used to give us 100 of these products. Now I get 3, and I still got the same overhead. So I got to sell for a little more money if the product's hot, okay? Well, you know what they did? Since the poor guys that didn't want to see us sell over MSRP, they jacked the prices up $15,000. So now who's selling over MSRP with a permanent price hike?
They're mad because you made the money, not them.
That's right, yeah. So, and now here they are. They got them overpriced, and yeah, that's another story. Harder to sell, right? But no, really, a word from our sponsor is Red River Outdoors, right? Y'all need to check us out. Red River Outdoors and RedRiverMerch.com. You can actually go to RedRiverMerch.com. You get shirts like this. We got cool T-shirts with the Heber Springs, the lake design on them, and outdoors design on them. Red River. Merch.com. We got Jeep shirts. We got a lot of Jeeps too, so that's why we got a lot of Jeep shirts ready for now. Springtime, just in time for spring, right? Take the top off the Jeep. Buy RedRiverMerch.com. Hey, but one more thing, and then we'll be done talking. What has changed over service contracts in the last 2 years on the backside? Like I'm just talking about percentages of repairs.
You want to take that or you want? So let me ask, are you talking about
loss ratio?
Loss ratio?
Yeah, so loss ratio to a consumer, explain that, and what if you've seen any changes in the last 2 years, 3 years even.
So, Will, again, I just want to make sure that we're clear. So you're asking about, what our EasyCare's loss ratio is looking like?
Yeah, or in general,
It's a great question. It's an interesting question because of the fact that in the last 2 years, what have we had a lack of?
Parts.
We've had a lack of overall inventory. So we're doing things that we haven't necessarily done in this business, which is a lot of times we are buying vehicles that we can get a hold of, which are usually higher mileage vehicles. And with that being said, the reconditioning, or when you take a vehicle into service after you trade it in or purchased it, and you look it over, inspect it, and then put it back out on the lot, what I've noticed a lot this day and age is, a lot of times you will look at a vehicle in the service shop that has 30,000 miles, and because the business has changed so much lately, a lot of reconditioning departments were treating a 100,000 or 120 or 150,000 mile vehicle the same way as a 30,000 mile vehicle, because they just weren't used to reconditioning something with that many miles. They're not the same. So yes, we are taking bigger losses lately, and again, this is 100% an assumption, but we've had these talks, amongst all of us lately about, what are we taking on losses and how many claims are coming through. But we are taking more claims, but a lot of what we see coming through were simply because, and this isn't necessarily particular dealership or anything nationwide. It's just they haven't necessarily been ran through the shop as much as what they should have been, because we're still used to running a 30,000, 40,000 mile vehicle through the shop. So when you have a service claim, you're taking a service claim on a 120,000 mile vehicle because that's what the dealership had available to sell instead of a 30,000 mile vehicle.
So your average rate of loss has gone up. Do you know about how much?
So I know in our region right now, in the central region for us, we're at about a 40%.
Okay. What was it before? 3 years ago, what was average?
Don't really know that, but I know, like, for some reason, like the Midwest area, our loss ratio is a little bit lower than other regions and countries, like our East Coast. They were 50-60% at times. So it was kind of throwing it off a little bit. But
well, and I've heard over the last couple of years they've gone all the way up to 70.
Well, so here, I'll be your control group or your guinea pig.
Yeah.
Like I told the Governor Asa Hutchin during the mask thing, I said, hey, my 5 stores, we're going to be a control group, right? We're not going to wear masks, and we're going to see what happens. Come get us if you want to. You know, hey, we're the bad guys. And we didn't wear masks. We're all still here today. Yeah, we are. I'm still here too. Okay. Just making sure. Yeah, we're all still here today. So no mask. I texted him that 2 years later. I replied to that text. I said, hey, it seems like it worked out, buddy. Anyway, so I'll be your control group. We didn't change what we sold on high mileage. As a matter of fact, I probably went the opposite. And here's why. Those higher mileage cars where your inventory was short were bringing more money at the auction than I dare ask to my consumer. So I told every guy, my salespeople, if I trade for an $80,000 vehicle, I want to see it first if we're going to retail it.
Sure.
Because I don't want to go spend $4,000 on it and then have to ask way too much just because that's what they're bringing to the auction. I take them to the auction. These cars, I used to know what a car's worth. I quit. I quit knowing what a car's worth. I'd put down, hey, I want $10,000 for this car, and it'd bring $17,000. I'd put it on the lot for $12,900, and customers would have told me I was asking too much. So I did not change. I probably went to lower mileage vehicles, but I'm tell you what, our loss ratio doubled what we sold. So I mean, I think it had to do with the price of parts going up, the amount of time people had to be in rental cars, and I dare say pandemic build, because people put 30,000, they get past that factory warranty real quick. They're real quick into that 50,000 miles, and they were building. Every manufacturer was building. I guess they're just trying to get people to work from wherever, or maybe they had the mask on, they couldn't think right because they were breathing, lost oxygen to their brain. But the product was just not built the way it's supposed to be built. And we got a slew of trucks right now, 5500s with a Aisin transmission. They're notoriously, last 10 years, we've never had problems out of these transmissions. I would say that's the one to buy. I bet I got 7 of them with less than 5,000 miles that are stuck in the mud, won't move, and I can't get a part. And people use them for business. That's the type of stuff we're seeing. Thank God, the manufacturer's paying for these. But if it rolled to 36,000, it would be on the service contract, and that's what happened. So I think it just has to do with the price of parts and just a terrible building.
Ford had shut down some plants.
Ford had shut down quality issues. Yeah. So Mr. Farley, who says that the Ford dealers are bad, can't get his quality together. He's got overpaid engineers and too many of them. Why in the world? If I was running a company, I believe, I got some partners here. I think if I stepped up and said, hey, we got a poor quality issue. I got too many managers. Hey, I lost $2 billion last year. You think I'd still be here? What does he have over these guys?
Right.
I mean, him and Biden must both have something over some people. I don't know. I didn't want to get political, but I just did. So
you're good.
Yeah.
You have the right people around you to have that conversation.
Right. Well, I want to be a CEO of Ford because it sounds like it's really hard to get fired. Yeah, right. I don't understand. Maybe he's an in-law. I don't get it. But anyway, so thank you guys for spending time with us, and maybe one day we'll do business in the future, and kind of fun, right?
Absolutely.
Podcast. So be looking for it. Red River Outdoors on Spotify. No, it's not Red River Outdoor. Red River Real Talk on Spotify. Look forward to listening to it on your way back. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Ryan, got Ryan Higgins here.
Hello.
Ryan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you're about.
Sure. My name's Ryan Higgins. I've been here at Red River for, I think, 16, 17 years, since September of 2006, however long that is. I'm one of the managers up here in Heber. I've been here since almost the beginning and seen it grow, and God's done amazing things, and here we are.
All right. Well, Ryan, we just come off of talking to some guys with EasyCare about service contract business. I was telling them about incidents we had in the service department today. But what we ended about talking about was how the amount of claims has gone up so much, so drastically. We've seen them, and the shortage of parts. And not only that, the matter of difference of opinions. It's like going to a doctor. So let's see, you had your son at the doctor 2 days ago, right?
Yesterday, and then in the emergency room last night.
What? Because they got it wrong, right? Or they weren't able to fix him the first time.
Yeah. So we went to the doctor, and they're like, if it continues, you might need to go to the emergency room. So he continued to get worse, and my wife and son were there for several hours, and they left with no results.
No results. Now, if that was in our mechanic shop, what would happen?
Oh, someone would be wanting some results and answers.
They'd be lining us up. Hey, can I talk to the manager? Can I talk to the owner?
Yeah.
If y'all don't fix this right now, I'm going to blow you up on the internet.
Yeah.
I wonder if the hospital, we need to follow their Facebook page.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I bet they get blown up on the internet. I don't know. But that being said, these guys are much more educated than you and I and our technicians, right? Supposedly more. They spend more time in school. I don't know about much more educated, but they spend more time in school, and they can't get it right. And I don't expect them to get it right every time. I don't. I know it's hard, so I'm not bashing them. What I'm saying is they're much more educated and they can't get it right. But yet our shop sometimes can't get it right either. I was telling them, I didn't tell them this, but what I was saying, when my friends buy a car from me, and so I think we're going to title this podcast, To Buy a Service Contract or Not. Yeah. What I tell my friends is buy it because it protects our friendship.
That's true. I mean, it's inevitable whenever we sell a vehicle. I used one. You see them at a restaurant or at church or at Walmart, you're like, oh, Lord, please let them be happy. Please don't let them say, oh, we've got issues and all this stuff. But just like you said, if they have a service contract, even if they have the issues, they're going to be protected.
Yeah, come on in. We're going to get it taken care of. And when we sell service contracts, we don't just pick a company. We make sure it's a company that's going to take care of them. It's going to stand behind. We're going to stand behind it. So they got to stand behind us. And if they don't, we just move on to another service contract.
That's true.
Right. And so there's so many instances now these cars are breaking for totally unknown reasons. A lot of electronic issues that are breaking. Used to is a motor transmission. Motor transmission, as long as I'm covered. But look, if you're buying a service contract, ask my guys or any guys, will this cover all the computer components?
Right.
That's why I need to cover computer components, because that is what breaks. Even if the transmission goes out, there's a pretty good chance something caused it.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, and there's a reason why the factory warranties will only cover parts of the transmission and engine. I mean, there's other components that cause that stuff to go, that can make it faulty. I mean, my son's truck, a light came on, and I mean, it had several issues, and I'm grateful I had the service contract, because I had the peace of mind, and my teenage son's in it, so I don't want to worry like, oh my gosh, what could have happened? But I mean, I'm grateful that we had that, and not only that, but it's covered. You're bringing it to a dealership, so trained technician's going to be working on it. You're not taking it to a buddy of yours, dad, that works on cars part time,
right, trying to save you money.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially,
you don't have to worry about it.
And if you're broke out of town and it breaks, and oh gosh, am I going to get ripped off? Hey, it doesn't matter. Let them try to rip the service contract company up and off, and the service contract company sees thousands of these a day, so they're pretty good chance they're not going to get ripped off, but they're going to take care of you and make sure everything goes right. Speaking of your son, what did they end up doing to his truck?
Well, they replaced the lower control arms, ball joints, tie rod ends, pretty much everything in the front end.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it had a manifold leak.
I seen your son drive. It could have been a lot. A lot could have been on him. But hey, whatever. At least they covered it, right?
Yeah,
go ahead.
He's gonna say he didn't know what was going. He just knew it was making a funny noise. But then he said the next day it was fine. So I said, well, I'm just going to take it just to be safe. And luckily I did, because all those components were bad. Yeah.
Well, and something else that goes and the reason they call it a service contract, not a warranty, is because you got to participate in it too. Right. You got to take care of that car. You got to make sure it's maintained. You can't ever not grease a component or never change the oil in it, or when it calls for having the rear end grease or the front end, something changed in it. You got to participate in it. Make sure you're keeping up with the maintenance. And I'll tell you this, we see a lot of the Ram 6.4 Hemis come in with that ticking noise. I got a friend of ours, go to church with, runs a big business that buys a lot of these 6.4s. And so I went up to him a couple weeks ago. I said, hey, are you seeing a lot of these? He's got 150, 200,000 miles. Are y'all seeing a lot of problems out of these 6.4s with the lifters ticking in them and you having to replace lifters? He said, not one of them.
Really?
You know why? He changes his oil every 5,000 miles. I mean, I guess that's why. Because all these other, they recommend every 7,500 to 10,000. So you got to figure these other people are going 10,000, maybe 12 to 13,000, changing their oil. And the only difference, he's OCD. He makes his guy change his oil every 5,000 miles. They don't, he's going to fire them. And out of all those trucks we've sold them, none of that's happened. So,
wow. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, they're designed to last. And just like you said, the proper maintenance, especially if you're doing a lot of heavy driving or pulling or something, you want have it done a little quicker just because putting a lot more strain on the motor.
And of course, he changes his air
transmission.
filters with it too, because they work in the dust all the time. So these rigs can get dusted. And a lot of people don't think about that. When you bring your rig into us to get the oil change and to get service, we're going to check those things. They think we're upselling you. We're just trying to protect your asset. These dealerships are trying to protect your asset. Sure, they're going to make a little money. They sell you a filter for $21. They probably paid $17 for it. Absolutely, they're going to make some money on it. So, but they're taking care of the product. So,
right.
Anyway, so what would you say? What's your best advice? Somebody buying a car to buy a service contract or not? Is there a certain limit you should? Should you on new? Should you on used? What would you say?
Obviously you want to, when I tell my finance guys, especially, ask the right questions. If you drive 5,000 miles a year, obviously you don't need something that's 150,000 mile warranty because you're probably never going to hit that.
Yeah.
You're going to want to look at your driving patterns. I mean, we have coverages that last up to 10 years, A lot of people will, however long they're financing it, they'll have a contract that matches that. So as long as they're financing it, they're protected. They want that peace of mind. I want that peace of mind.
But don't overpay for it. Look, if it's my guys or any finance guy, I'm not asking you questions about how you drive, where you drive, how long you're financing, how many miles were on your last car. Ask them why they're not asking that question. Because if they're not, they're just trying to sell you something. And even if they just sell you something you need, but tell them to cater it. They have all kinds of programs out there to cater it to your driving habits. That way you don't have to overpay. Look, I don't want to pay $3,200 for a product that I can get for $2,200. I don't want to pay for 150,000 miles if I'm never going to see it. Right. So if I put 10,000 miles a year on it and I trade in 6 years, well, I'm going to buy a 65,000 mile, maybe 70,000 mile service contract. That way I'm not overpaying for that service contract when it comes due, right?
That's true. And, and ask, hey, what all does this cover? Because there is different levels. And, most of the time we're just going to sell the top level because my thought is if I'm selling you something, I want you protected. I don't want to get that phone call saying, hey, I'm broke down. And
buy the top level.
Yeah, they're saying, oh, it's not covered.
Buy the top level. There's so many things in life that you take shortcuts on. I did building a house. I know you did building your house. And we go back and we think, oh, gosh, now I'm spending 3 times more money to get it the way I want. Take the top level service contract. Last thing you want to do, just tell them, I want the best one because I don't want to come in and that service contract company has any reason not to pay the bill or pay the claim, right?
And usually there's not a big price difference between, say, the middle and the top row. That's why we always just
15-20% max. Probably not even that much.
No, probably not even that much.
Yeah. Check us out. Look, thank you for listening to our podcast. We got this Red River Real Talk. We keep it pretty transparent. Ryan, I don't know if you've ever listened. Have you listened to any of the podcasts?
I haven't, but Ryan, I will now.
Ryan doesn't listen. He likes to listen to sporting events quite a bit. He's listening to. Is there anything else you want to talk about that's real? What? Our first podcast, we told people not to buy cars.
Really?
It was a bad time. Your car is right then when the value of used car dropped like crazy and the new cars were still really high. It just wasn't. Look, if you didn't want to buy a new car, if you didn't have to buy a new car, that was a stupid time, right?
Oh, I know. It's, I've been in this business for over half my life. And, now I have that thought where normally I'm trading every 6 months. Now I'm doing a little more research, trying to be a smarter consumer and
time it right. But right now we got discounts. Here we are, discounts again. The used car market has come up. It's not where it was, and we don't need to see it where it was. It was ridiculous, but it has come up because of tax time. So if you're thinking about trading, you better jump on the bandwagon right now.
We do.
Because I'm going to say in the summertime, them used cars are going to drop. Again,
they are. And the best part is we have new vehicles in stock ready for delivery. We haven't been able to say that for the last couple of years.
Yeah. No, it's kind of fun being transparent on this podcast where we probably only get 10 people to listen to so that we can say exactly what we want when we want to say it. We got Dalton.
Total, you got 500.
500. Oh, wow. That's a lot of listeners, huh?
Wow.
Our media manipulation total of Facebook, YouTube.
I think you just made that word up.
We talked about that last week. Media manipulation.
You don't listen.
Yeah, listen to the podcast, man.
I'll be honest, I don't even know where you find it.
Spotify, Facebook, YouTube.
Spotify.
We're not on the
Apple Music.
Coming to Apple Music soon.
Okay.
We're coming over there, so
okay, I've heard of those.
Pay attention and look. Hey, go to RedRiverMerch.com. And we need to get some t-shirts made. Maybe say Red River Real Talk, our podcast. Have some t-shirts that people could purchase. Yeah, we could say Mitch said. Red River Real Talk, Mitch said. I don't know about Mitch Please on there, but we can say Mitch said. anyways, there we are. Life is good. We want to thank the Lord for providing this opportunity for what we do. Thank the Lord for what we do every day.
Oh, I know.
And our great families. You know, Ryan and I have known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot longer than I wish we did.
Yeah.
But, you know, so we met each other in college, and here we are today doing a podcast. Hey, let's send this to Hadley, see if he wants to jump on and listen to it, right?
Exactly.
Oh, we should have Hadley get on one of the podcasts.
We
do
should.
Zoom one day.
Yeah.
That'd probably be fun, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be
Yeah,
fun.
an old roommate. But check us out. Watch us on YouTube. Dalton's going to take some of these, turn them into shorts. He does a great job by trying to edit them, seeing what fun we talked about. And next week, I think we're going to talk about technician shortage. Finally, we've been trying to do it. What's hard is we're so short of techs. It's hard for me to get my foremans out to be able to talk to me about it. But we're going to make it happen next week.
Wow.
And if you got a young man coming up, young woman even, coming up, and you just don't think college is cut out for them, I'm going to tell you, a technician is one place they need to be looking at. There's a great opportunity there. Signing off. Thanks for listening to Red River Real Talk.